This is East Harlem Community Radio, coming to you from the James Weldon Johnson houses. I'm Brother Leroy with the Wisdom Table, consisting of Sister
Stroud, Shirley.
Eva Barnum.
Brother William.
Edith Jenkins.
Esther Hyatt.
and our engineers, Brother Stu. And ladies and gentlemen, this program does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of this housing complex, nor the administration. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program who are live in living color in studio and by phone interview. Today, our guests are coming to us from Selma, Alabama, and we have online Attorney Rose Sanders, and her husband is in the background, State Senator Hank Sanders. The reason we have them on is a revelation of sorts for us in the North as it relates to life in some parts of these United States of America, and specifically in terms of Selma, a historic place. And we're going to let them share their experiences. However, Attorney Rose Sanders, I'd like for you to do this. I'd like to start at the ending and then work our way from the beginning to the ending. And that is this way. What are 3 or 4 things that you and your husband have come away from this experience, which is still going on, that sticks in your mind as you would say, all right, here's these things that happen to us, and here's the bottom line. What are 3 or 4 things that come to your mind as it relates to your experience?
Thank you for opportunity to share. Special thanks to my friend Esther Hyatt for bringing this to your attention. That's the easy question. First is the conditions of our jails. Spending 2 nights in jail with women, I really got to see firsthand the inadequacy of our jail system. Where after the food fed, there's no clock, there's no radio, there's no pillow. Simple things that we take for granted. There were people in jail, some had been in jail, I think, January, 7 months. All they needed for a bond was $150, and they couldn't come up with that. So it again was a reality check on the helplessness of poverty. When people are without resources, how limited they are, the injustice system is already anti-poor, anti-black, anti-brown. But when you're poor and black and poor and brown, it don't add in a female. There's a triple injustice. So that's another thing I knew I was aware, but experienced it firsthand. Also, the fact that my child was left on a public street, 5 and 11 years old, and the officers did nothing to even try to allow me to call and give her help. I knew that things were bad, but the fact that they would leave an 11-year-old black child quiet on the street. And my third point, it was a black officer that allowed it. And it pinpointed again the power of blue power. That even though now we have black officers for the first time in the black belt of Alabama, so started in 1965, there were no black officers, no black police chiefs, no black anything, no black state prosecutors. Because of the suffering and sacrifice of people who literally went to jail, bled, and died, so we could have the right to vote, so that we could have more black officers and more black public officials. It is really sad, a sad state of affairs, when you have young black men mistreated and illegally arrested me, and not just me, countless other people. And the fourth thing, I guess, is that our people are so silent about injustice. 50 years ago, you had a massive movement in Birmingham, Montgomery, and Selma, across the Mississippi. The only time we get upset there is when an unarmed black man is killed by a white man. And there are many of these murders that take place throughout the country, but it does not video. It does not go on camera. We don't get upset. like the young man that was killed in front of his child at his school. They're only outraged because of some video. If someone had just told us that it happened, we wouldn't be outraged. So those are the four things that come to my mind.
Okay, so now we go to some of the beginning and your encounter with the law enforcement and the establishment that's there. Some people call it a deep state, but this state is right on the surface once you prick the skin of it. So go into
Okay, that's much different thing up south and down south.
yes, ma'am.
They're more progressive up south, but the white supremacy is entrenched uptown and downtown.
Mm,
That includes New York and North Alabama.
beautiful.
But this, okay, well, really this began last year. I'm a part of an organization called SOS Movement for Justice and Equality and Democracy. We were concerned that Roy Moore could become next senator. Of course, he couldn't be any worse than Jeff Sessions, but the idea that he also was a blatant child abuser, along with several other negatives. So we started what we call the Vote or Die campaign. And as part of this Vote or Die campaign, we were very to streets, to clubs, to churches, wherever there were people gathered, stores. The Vote or Die campaign was present during that campaign. And on December the 12th, the night of the election, I had what we call thank people voting for the different precincts. I was in Dallas County, a place called Albany, and I was in my husband's car, and I had a voter ad sign on the car. So this white man walks up to the car, aims the car to black me, takes off the voter magnet sign, and throws it to the ground. When I exit the car, there are witnesses there. There's a black witness there and other people. So this white man says to me, someone's gonna die tonight, someone's gonna be killed. So then he talks about me. So that happened in December. And I have yet to get him arrested, even though I took his picture. I gave his picture to the black district attorney's office. We have a black district attorney. I took the information in his office. I went to Private Square 1 in the sheriff's office. To this day, that man has not been arrested. But last week, on July 16th, I was for the DOT campaign, and I recognized that I left one of my granddaughters at my law office. So I left the young people who were working with me on the corner, and as I drove down Broad Street, I passed Tabernacle Church, and in front of the church, there was a scripture sign. Now, let me say two things. Tabernacle Church is the first church held a mass meeting. Sister Esther been to that church. Every year, during the Bridge Cross Jubilee, we've had powerful speakers like Reverend Wright, Dr. Wright, to rekindle the spirit of the mass meeting. But at this historic church, this white supremacist, who was running for the probate judge, had his sign in close proximity to that church. I stopped my car. There was a deacon and another member of the church standing there. I removed the sign from the store property. It was not on their property. It was on public property in close proximity to their property. When I removed it, the speaker thanked me. They thought that this white supremacist would put his sign so near church property, but it was not on their property, so they didn't feel free to remove it. I took up the sign, got back in my car, went to my law office, checked on my grandchild. As I headed towards Broad Street to pick up these young people, this black man in an unmarked car had a red shirt held out of his car. Just took that sign. What is this man harassing me? I continued. I stopped my car. He said, stop. Yeah. So before we stopped, stopped my car near the campaign headquarters of Jimmy Millen, who was in the runoff election of the probate judge. We had had a black probate judge in this county for 200 years, even though this is the seat of the voting rights movement, and even though this county is 73% black. So as I stopped, I noticed a car that pulled up behind me. And a man got out of the car, and I noticed it was the man in the red shirt. I said, I don't feel like no drama. So I get back in my car. When I pulled off, he pulled off behind me. For the first time he put on the sky ring, I realized it was a car. When I realized it was a car, I'm not going to stop when there's no witnesses. It's like 6:30. I'm no longer at work. This is now down. Most of them are closed. I take a right turn to City Hall. City Hall is closed. There's no people there. I make another right turn at Convention Center. I make another right turn. I go 3 blocks and stop when I see people on the street. When I stop, he gets out the car. He tries to intimidate the people who are feeling what's going on. So the first thing I do is tell them not to be intimidated. You have a right to be where you are. You have a right to video this illegal arrest. Then I realize that my child is with me, my granddaughter, and I tell him to allow me to call her a mother of someone before he arrests me. Well, no. He does not give me that simple respect. Mind you, I'm 73 on my way to 74. This young black man treats me like I am a terrorist. One, he insists on putting the handcuffs behind my back, even though I tell him I broke my wrist. I broke my wrist several months ago on my way to get Gregory funeral. I love that man. So, but my wrist had not quite healed because a month before that, another black officer put handcuffs on me on that wrist when I was protesting this monument to Confederate soldiers in Freeman. So here again, I'm telling the street to not put these handcuffs on the back, allow them to be placed in the front. He refuses. When I again, I said, well, let me call someone about my granddaughter so she will not be left on the street. He takes my phone from me before he put the handcuffs and throws the phone. I hear later that he threw it in the back of my car. So my grandchild is left crying on the street. I holler to someone, go inside my husband and tell him what's going on. They take me to the second floor of the county jail. Oh, by this time, there are 9. I just counted there are 9 police officers. 7 or 8 police cars there. And mind you, we had a murder a few days before. The same amount of cars that show up for murder was showed up for me. Arrest me for a misdemeanor. So when I get to the county, to the city jail, I'm told I cannot be released without a $2,000 cash bond. And my husband out there, Joe, was trying to see me. They wouldn't allow me to see him. When I finally got to see him, I was with several people around. Asked me did I want to be bailed out. I said, no, I'm not going to pay a cash bond. They take me to the county jail. In the meantime, I have an extremely important case the next day, July 17th. A young man who had been falsely accused of domestic terrorism, $2.5 million bond under a district attorney and a one judge. I am not a criminal lawyer. When I heard about this case, I was infuriated. So I took up this case as a court. I actually court appointed to this attorney to this case. So this case is scheduled for the next day. So this child is sent under a $2.5 million bond, was in jail for over 2 years. Now keep in mind, a white man threatened to kill me. I can't even get him arrested. He's a black man who sent a private text message to a personal friend, and I've been fighting for his liberty for 3 years. So the file was in my car. I asked my husband to keep them in jail to do the case. Well, the file was in the car. They came to the car. This is what is really so disrespectful. My husband is standing by the car, put the key safe in the car. This young black officer would not allow him to take the car. Takes the car to a house. And he has to pay $150 to get the car so he can get the file for the case. So you have my grandchild crying on the street till my husband comes. And then they remove the car. I refuse to pay the $2,000 bond. But the condition is, I'm in jail because the conditions of the jail. This is amazing how much people make off of suffering from jail. The commissary, you have white business people who are making a mint off of black suffering. So the county jail is 95% black. So in order to get soap and necessities, you have to pay these outrageous cost charges. In order to call outside, the outrageous charges for a telephone call. So I stay there after 48 hours, and I'm not allowed to vote. I asked, could I just go and vote? I'm told no, not vote. After 48 hours, one of the women in the jail tells me, Miss Sanders, you know, there's a rule. They can't hold you over 48 hours. You don't have to be a bond jack. I'll never forget Miss Phillips. She told me that. So this is a black woman at the jail. And it split. So she called the magistrate, fill a form within 5 minutes of the 2 weeks. But now I have filed a motion for the trial. Number one, I filed a trial. So which is this. These are outrageous charges. No one has ever been arrested for taking a sign in this county against this area. Ever. The probate judge, the white probate judge actually got on the news last week and said he would do it all the time. But I took the sign from public property, not private property. In fact, before taking the sign up of this white supremacist, I went to the city hall and told the black woman, Mullen School, who was over enforcement, that if she did not take the sign up of this man, I would do it. I also got on the radio and told him where he could retrieve the sign. Unfortunately, this black woman was working for the white supremacists. And she was mainly taking up black signs and not taking up white signs. I was not going to have that. They tried to arrest me last year when I was taking up the Confederate flag from the public cemetery. And they first made news. Sanders takes up Confederate flag. Yes, I'm going to take up Confederate flags, flags of people committed treason, flags of people who engaged in the most dehumanizing slavery in human history. Yes, when I speak it on public property, I'm going to take it up. They didn't arrest me then, but they arrested me for taking up a sign of a white supremacist on public property when the law is in Alabama, you cannot do it. That's what it's like. This was not what happened.
The first part of your statement related to Roy Moore and the Democrat that was eventually voted in. Just give us an overview of this Roy Moore. What difference would it have made for Roy Moore to be a senator as opposed to the current, the Democrat that was voted in?
To be clear, neither of these people are for black people, are going to do anything significant for black people. In order for him to keep that seat, he has to count down to white Republicans in Alabama because this is a white Republican state. But there are differences. And you know, some people say it's the worst of the evils, but we do know that Mr. Moore was a child abuser. Children as young as 14 years old, he sexually abused them. That was key to me. Also, Mr. Jones, he did prosecute at least one of the men who were domestic terrorists who killed those 4 precious girls in a Birmingham church in 1963. That's the thing of his claim to fame.
Very, very good. Okay, before we ask Brother Sanders to come in and give us an overview of some of the things he's been through, talking to the wisdom table, any questions, any comments? This is Selma, Alabama, where you see the famous scene of black people being beat up going across that. It's the Pettus Bridge, right? William Pettus?
Named after the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. And I want to ask your listeners to do me a favor. This is the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. On the day of the election 2 weeks ago, you had the League of the South, these white supremacists on that bridge because they honor Edmund Pettus because he was a Klansman. But we have John Lewis, who was speaking on that bridge, who objected to my husband getting that name changed. You have Congressman Sewell, who would not be in the Congress if it had not been for the beatings on that bridge, and vowed that that bridge would never be changed. My husband got the Republicans to agree to rename that bridge the Bridge of Freedom, the Bridge to Freedom.
Wow.
And I think it's really, really a sign of how deeply miseducated some of our best people are. Some of our most Terry School went to Harvard like I did. But for her to object to renaming that bridge, can you imagine a Jew agreeing to any name being after any Nazi, not to mention Hitler. We are struggling educating people. Now, I agree with Carter G. Woodson is the more educated we are, the more miseducated we are, except with Dr. Hyatt. And the fact is, the lifting of the mind, the most pressing problem facing Black America, not the lifting of the neck, but the lifting of the mind. So we have Black police officers and we have Black elected officials who are participating in the freaking of our people out of pure ignorance. Refusal to learn the history of this country, because ISIS were not the first terrorists that we confronted. The first terrorists we confronted, and thank God for EHCR and the Peace and Justice Museum in Montgomery that chronicles the thousands of lynchings and burnings of Black women and children, even Black soldiers. People know about Rosa Parks, but 4 years before he sat on the bus, a young 21-year-old man, Mr. Brooks, was killed on a bus because he refused to go to the back. And we still have Black men and women being killed because we refuse to be second-class citizens. Now, I want to invite people to our Bridge Talk to Jubilee up to some, because we talk that bridge every year. 3-day celebration, but it's also a commemoration of the struggle. We're asking you to bring your church group to a youth group because we must reignite the fight for justice. Because with Trump in office, we know what's going on. Trump is not the enemy. Trump is not the real problem. It's the millions who support his agenda. And you asked about World War, another terrible thing he did. But it was true. He said America was great when Black people were enslaved. When he said is what most of them think.
Okay. All right. I got the we is me. I got a lot of questions. However, this program is the seniors program, and they may have comments, even if it relates to another state or something they heard or something they read, something they know. Sister Jenkins?
Really, nothing has really changed in the South. Everything is under the cover still.
I didn't hear a question. No, I'm 73 years old. I'm also a grandmother.
She said that Sister Jenkins, who's from South Carolina lady, she said it's just under the covers, but nothing has changed. Your reaction?
Oh, I agree. But some things have changed. Let me just disagree to one point. The major thing that has changed is things are not as blatant and frequent. Blatant and frequent are very important words. There was a time there was a lynching weekly. There was a killing weekly. Of course, we have killings of unarmed Black men. But we do have Black children in some point. And we do have some Black elected officials like Maxine Waters and Barbara Lee that will stand up and fight. And because we have what I call the conscious 1%, oh, Mr. DeBoer, I would love 10%, but I'm glad to be the conscious 1%. And we have some Black public officials, and we have some Black elected officials who will stand up and fight. So to that degree, there's been a change. And we just have to recognize that. So a lot has not changed, especially for poor people. That's why I embrace the Moral Monday meeting, a movement led by Dr. Barber. Because even Black middle class people are not fighting for justice for poor people. Here in Selma, we have children who have to walk 6 miles to school. We have majority school boards. But they will not even get transportation for poor children who have to walk 6 miles to school. What has changed? Doing segregation, at least they have segregated buses. But now they have none.
You said there's a Black school board, yet transportation to accommodate those students who have to walk 6 miles to school, that transportation is not there. Is that?
And don't mention Black history. They won't even teach civil rights history. voting rights history. The history that was made by their mothers and aunties. And they don't even teach it in our school system. And that's a major problem. That's why there's so much education. That's why there's so much violence and despair. Because our children don't know the greatness of their ancestors. It amazes me about the new museum in Washington. There's this great museum, and outside we have the overlook. Standing right there in front of that museum. And there's nothing in the museum that tells our children that the first overlook were not called overlook. You know, Tony, I was saying, still probably. Our ancestors in ancient Africa came going to those 5,000 years ago. That's the history that they're not really completely divorced from. Most of our children believe that obviously began with slavery, and that Africa was a place of pagans and barbarians. They don't want this. To let them from the dungeons of despair and ignorance. Even educated black people don't know, and they refuse to teach themselves. They refuse to teach it in our churches, in our schools, until we will call it these wicked and got people like April Williams and Dr. So many scholars that told us, like they're in New York, they're still there. And we're not listening. We're not listening. So powerful continue to arrest 17-year-old black women like myself and leave their grandchildren on the street because they don't know the law.
That's right.
Okay, we're gonna come back to you. Is Brother Hank there, or is he away?
He's gonna call in.
Okay,
So,
all right.
so we can
No problem. Listen,
Let me just say, I think, Rose, this is Esther. I think what has happened to our children, and that was shown in the way these young people who are policemen now, the way they're behaving is a response to miseducation. I think you already said that.
Yeah.
But they don't know their history. They don't even know their history in Selma. So they can disrespect you like that. And what I'm thinking is that perhaps, we need to do something about the education of these children, of all ages.
We just had two camps at 21st Century. We just had a week camp. I had a summer camp all summer long with our children, but it's not enough. Not enough. But I want to encourage you, listen, to meet us at the bridge, meet us on the bridge. Come March 4th and 5th. We have all day workshops. We have Tony Brown and other scholars coming here. What's your friend in New York, man? I just told him and his wife. You don't want to talk about that.
I can't.
The oldest, you know, the oldest couple, they work at they work for home phone.
Leonard Jeffries?
Dennis Jeffries and his wife, we invited them back. Because we're trying to get the Christian infused into our school system. Because we will not break these chains, these mental chains, until we don't do that. Thank you, Sister Esther, and thank you, brother. I'm going to hang up and let my husband call. But meet us at the bridge on March 4th, 2019.
okay.
One more thing. You mentioned, can you hear me?
Sister Rose.
You mentioned that some of our people do know what's going on and they do stand up. And I can recall it was mentioned that the young lady, the Me Too lady, would not go against Bill Cosby when she was goaded into making a statement about him. I all of this relates to what is happening to all of us. And could you comment on that, or do you want to?
She has to comment for herself. I'm very proud of her. Speaking of youth leadership, she came here when she was 14 from New York. Our 21st Century Youth Leadership Organization had chapters in 21 states, and we had at least 40 and 50 young people coming from New York every summer. And I would like to revisit that, to get that to happen again. She started coming when she was 13 or 14 and started the Me Too movement right here in Selma. And I think she's a very conscious, powerful young woman. And even though she's very much against sexual abuse, she also is aware that black women were sexually abused for 300 years, raped and tortured, even though they were still 11 years old, and absolutely nothing was done about it. and there are very few white women speaking that speaks to God.
Sister Attorney Rose, there's in the Carl Nelson interview yesterday, you talked about fear, and there's different types of fear. You know, you see a pit bull, and you're on the alert. But the kind of fear that you're observing among a segment of black people, regardless of income, regardless of education, regardless of complexion, can you speak to that?
You know, I did not realize how deep fear is still a part of our culture, my environment.
No, I'm sorry,
Speak up
Sister
now.
Rose, speak up.
I did not realize how deeply embedded fear is. You know, since there's lots of public relations and crucifixion, and the blatant retaliation, but it's very much for the fear. Matter of fact, a young black man told me that the reason why there's that young black people kill each other more than they kill is because of fear. What the heck is that do? He said because number one, they use guns because they cannot get police protection. So they are afraid that they can be killed when they pick up guns. I never thought about it. He said they're cowards. They're afraid to fight with their fists, and they're afraid to report anything to the police because the police are not going to protect them. They're afraid of the police of retaliation. They're afraid of gangs because of retaliation. Their mothers and fathers are afraid of the police because they've seen so much racial profiling. People are afraid to speak out against injustice because they're afraid that they will be targeted on their job. So here it is 2018 that people are still entrenched in fear. As a matter of fact, so much so that I've taken Senator Henry saying and I'm adjusting it. So our new motto is I'm sick and tired of being scared. I'm voting no change. That's the new slogan for the whole gospel campaign. I'm sick and tired of being scared inside. So between being scared and being tired, black people are as what Ace really is, so they're no longer at the bottom of the barrel, we're under the barrel. So there's a lot of fear in the black community. And I just have no idea what the taste of it is. How people come up to me and say, I wish I could stand up and speak up like you. But I can't. They don't think that.
No, I'm sorry, say that again.
And then people that come up to me and say, I wish I could stand up like you, but I'm scared. People are scared. And where do you go to when you're scared?
Mm.
You can't go to the police department because they protect. That's right, they protect the system. So who can you go to? You can't go to your minister, but your minister's not going to challenge. My granddaughter is just 11 years old on Southern Street. I said, you're a church. Are y'all going to got against it? There are very few people who are determined to sit in this house. Very few. We only lose our fear when we're caught up in emotion. They are like the fear. So we put aside our fear and we riot. Not riot. We just say about it. I said, we just stay on the funny moment, but it's just moment and reality. It's not going to last. Not going to last until we really reach peace and understand who the objective is and how we are participating in our own discussion through our silence or activism. Silence gives us fully the right to continue to put it.
Now, Senator Sanders is going to call us in after you finish with your interview.
The doctor's appointment, but I understand you're supposed to call. So let me
Oh, well, listen. That's no problem, because that, your observations, okay, he's in the state senate, and you're an independent attorney. He's an attorney also, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're both attorneys, along with three of my children.
Right. And, oh, okay, along with two of your children.
Three.
3 of them.
Three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they all of you work out of your same office in Selma, or the young ones are off and doing something else?
My youngest daughter is the director of our nonviolence, and it's very powerful that she works with Dr. Bernard Lafayette, who is here with Dr. Henry, 65. My only biological son, I have other children, my only biological son is a law professor in Texas at Southern Marshall, and my oldest daughter is a partner right here in my law firm in Selma.
Okay. Are you familiar with any reports out of Dolphin, Alabama, where black men were?
Kenneth Glasgow was illegally is the brother of Reverend Shelton. He was illegally and unlawfully charged with capital murder. That charge is still open there. And I investigated that. I went to Dolphin and investigated. There's absolutely no evidence that Kenneth Glasgow committed a capital murder. But that's what they're trying to put on him because of his activism. There are 3 ways to define activism. First is the demonized. That's what they do. Demonized. So these black people that are accused, listening calls, that are lying, that are racist, anything that would distract from what they're doing. They doesn't work, they will keep you in here. Distract you there. And if that doesn't work, they will do it not anymore. They will kill you. Those are the 3 things. So that's what they do. So Mr. Glasgow is very active in what he does. So it's applying his voice, they have charged him with capital murder. And I really believe that it's time for Reverend Shelton to speak out. Because he's speaking out against all these other unfair murders and all these other unjust acts.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he feels that he's speaking out first is
I'm not going to name any names, but I'm a deal with the issue. There appears to be Negro lawyers who are following up on what they call ambulance chases. Wherever there's an atrocity, they wind up, whether it's in California, New York, Texas, Washington, D.C., you always see their faces. What should people be aware of when they sign on with an attorney, poor people, sign on with an attorney who says that they're going to get them justice when it appears that all they want is a settlement and their percent from that, and no justice comes out of those situations?
I disagree with that. A white man said that to me about Trayvon tonight. I'm beginning to violent with the youth and because that you from a different perspective. But if these men and women did not what you call ambulance safety cases, they would not be publicized. They would not be known. There's not going to be an injustice in this criminal system. None of these men have been prosecuted and jailed for their crimes. So we didn't have people that were bringing these bishops to life who have a national platform. Some of these things will never be known. I don't have no problem with it. Personally. You know, I don't have the time to run to California or New York to publicize these cases. There was one case I was getting involved in Charlotte. But most of these families, I'm tell you, this was a member of my family. A part of the family wants me to get involved, but people won't hire profile lawyers. That's what they want. So no, I'm not even sure what that is in my opinion.
What do you say? They won't hire lawyers?
They won't have profile lawyers. I'm telling you, there was a shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina last year, 2 years ago. And there were people contacting me that wanted me to take the case. But I'm not a high-profile lawyer. They wanted a high-profile lawyer. That's what people want. That's why most black people go to white lawyers for their own cases. They don't come to us. They only come to black people for civil rights and time to fight time. When they have lucrative cases, they go to white lawyers I'm glad that black lawyers are getting some of this done. Because normally, and some of the ladies and white lawyers don't have to figure out how they can get something. You can find the same people, and these household down for these cases, they don't play one black lawyers. So I'm glad that some black lawyers are getting some of these cases.
Mm.
That's just my personal opinion.
Well, that's why we asked you. That's why. And you don't take no tea for the fever. So we asked you a question, you will give it to us straight, with no chaser.
I
Questions.
have some big news after big news. For the past 3 years, I've been fighting to get a child, a young man, who was arrested for terrorist threat and placed under a $2.5 million bond. A young black man, 28 years old, under a black DA and a white district judge who was elected by black people, and a circuit judge that was elected by black people. Now, he sent a private text message. The man that threatened to kill me was direct. I couldn't even get him arrested. This young black man, because his mom, family, they're not rich people. They're hardworking, low-income people. He was in jail for over 2 years for about $2.5 million bond. I everything that could fix it. Everything that could fix it. I see everything that's been on. And today I got an order to dismiss it all for the That was a mighty victory.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
What happened today?
This morning, the judge made an order dismissing all the charges against him after 36 months, no, 38 months.
So that's really another that's really another interview, because if we look at tomorrow's papers and wire services, we may not see that at all.
I can put that in the paper. They're not. And it's really sad. So they won't believe the paper came out with these people with the necessary $2.5 million bond. That's Thursday yesterday. A white man was threatened to kill me. Right there in my presence. I couldn't even get him arrested. A young black man who sent a private text message to a friend threatening to kill somebody. The minister never got the text message. And he got his liberty for the first time Tuesday. I have another case that I'm really interested in. Anybody's listening. Another young black man who got 40 years in jail for touching a white woman in the post office. Now, I know a young black woman, the same race, and her race is got probation. But this young black man who is mentally challenged is serving 40 years in custody. The court appointed her to allow him to plead guilty for that 40 years under a black district attorney. So he's going to jail.
You're taking up.
I look at, I actually have all over this country. I've known the people I cannot look at for this one.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Say that again, Sister Rose. I'm sorry. Say that again.
I've asked for help for this young man. I'm not going to call this organization, but I've asked for help. I've asked national organizations, all of this, I know what these organizations. It's so pitiful. Like you said, when my sister went to interview in the jail, he said he didn't know how to do it.
No, I'm sorry. You can't speak up louder.
He said he was one of those girls that was ugly. He just wanted somebody to like him. So he touched that white woman because he thought that's what he did with this beautiful life here. That's what he said. 40 years in jail.
For touching a white woman in the post office.
Yes. Yes.
For touching a white woman. I mean, this what you're saying is something that we would read about 1919, and the man would have escaped. He'd be alive because he had escaped out of the South, but be in jail in the North. for touching a white woman, 40 years in jail. What are you doing? Are you
You know, the black, well, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, how are you involved in that case?
I'm trying to see what I can do. By the time I found out about it, you have a year after
Oh,
you
to appeal.
to file an incompetency of counsel. By the time I found out, it was too late for me to file that. I don't know what else to do. That's why I'm asking for legal expertise from people around the country to help me. I can give you other cases. I know of another black woman got 30 years in jail. A grandmother, she got 30 years because the state trooper surrounded her house. She thought it was somebody with the possible boy. It surrounded her house. That which someone that threatened to kill her, she thought it was related to that threat. All she did was to fire one shot at the ceiling of her home. She got 30 years. I'm not talking about what happened 80 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm talking about what's going on right now. And we have all these people come together. So it's a wonderful mission. We got those Obama to come from. We got the Clinton to come. We have Oprah Winfrey to come. We got last year we had 15 LL players to come. There's Congressmen to come. There's nothing to talk about injustices and the poverty in the city. Nothing.
It's a wake-up call. As Sister Jenkins said, ain't nothing changed. This is deep. What's unique? I mean, these things are happening in New York. Same kind of things people held on Rikers Island for low amounts of bail, etc., and given long prison terms that seep out to the public. I think it has even more. I think that the enemy feels that they can do anything in those little closed quarters, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and it don't reach the public. So I think that the efforts to get it publicized, these cases publicized, will have some effect. Either the main effect will be the wake up call on us as a people.
Yes. That's why I appreciate Esther and Dr. Hyde and you allowing my voice to be heard. Because basically I can take care of me. I worry about the millions of our people who have no advocates, who have no resources to fight this system.
Well,
A senator's wife like this, illegally arrest her, 9 cops, and leave her child crying on the street. Why do you think they treat others?
policemen.
Yeah. Miseducated. Yeah.
Let me tell you, add insult to injury after you did all this, you told me you liked me. That shows you that it's the level of miseducation.
You said, wait,
Now,
say that again? Wait. He said after you said after all of that, he said what to you?
You like
Yeah,
that the
nothing else to say.
sentences are not all right here.
That's all. Yeah, nothing else.
You know, we have to really get into analyzing the responses of our people. Now, the last thing, look, there's a white sheriff in Selma. Is that what you said yesterday?
Now, the police chief is white, who was appointed by the black mayor.
That's what I want.
And the police chief before him was white, appointed by another black mayor.
Nothing changed.
The police chief is a white man
Yeah.
and appointed by a Negro mayor. Talk about that. Share with us that mayor. You told a story yesterday about how hard you worked to get a black man elected mayor and the man won't talk to you, something like that? Oh, wait a minute. What?
That's the first black mayor. I told him that, Rose. Your first black mayor in Selma. I mean, we were down there and we watched him with his attitude towards you. That was when Mandela's wife was down there, Mrs. Mandela. I mean, he just had contempt for you. Everyone was saying that. And I know that you were on the streets handing out flyers on the highway to get this black man in that position. Am I right on that?
When I do these things, I don't do it for the person,
Yeah.
for the cause. I don't expect anything. For example, the probate judge that I just worked from 10 in the morning to 8 at night for, Mr. Nunn. I told him this was not about him. This was about defeating a white supremacist. And he elected our first black probate judge. But Mr. Nunn, it was up to Mr. Nunn, when he was the city attorney, my son, white cop accused my son of assaulting him. And Mr. Nunn tried to prove that to be the case. Fortunately, the young white man told the truth. And the jury found that my son did not do anything wrong. And people said, how can you find so hard for Mr. Nunn when if it had been left up to Mr. Nunn, your son would have been disbarred. And I said, it was not about Mr. Nunn. And one thing we have to do as the people is to look at the greater good, to look at candidates and say all of them are imperfect, but who can best serve the interests of our people and our community. So even though a person running for office may have personally violated you in some way, first again, will they do the most good for your people and your community? And so when I worked with Mr. Perkins, you're right, he never even thanked me, but it wasn't for him, it wasn't about me. And I do want to make one other point before we go.
Yes, ma'am.
In May, there was a bill before Congress called Blue Light Matters. Most people don't even know about it. Most of the members of the Black Caucus voted for it. And what this law says is that if you attempt a cop, it is a federal crime and you can get up to 10 years in jail. Now, one of the things this young black man did, Mr. McGuire, who arrested me, he was bleeding after the arrest. I didn't do it. And he tried to say I caused him to bleed. If he had insisted on that charge, under that law, if it had been passed, I could have gotten up to 10 years in jail. So I want to encourage your listeners. It is not passed the Senate yet, but every member of the Black Caucus voted for that law except a few. I know Ms. Lee, Congressman Lee, and Maxine Walker voted against it. Congressman John Lewis voted for it. Not Congressman Sewell voted for it. It is not passed the Senate. I want to encourage your listeners in New York to call your senators and say, do not vote for this Blue Life Matters law that will give kids. Can you imagine how many cops are going to claim that that black man attempted to assault him?
That's right.
So along with the state charge, and then you will face 2 years in federal prison. It's a very dangerous law.
My sister.
So nearly every member of the Black Caucus voted for that law.
My sister, thank you very much.
Hold it.
Oh, wait a minute.
What kind of law not to vote for?
Blue Lives Matter.
Blue Life.
You can look it up on the internet. Blue Life Matters law.
Blue Life.
Passed by,
Blue Life Matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got it. Thank you and thank you and thank Brother Hank Sanders for us.
Okay.
And we thank Sister Esther.
Coming across the bridge with us now on March 4th.
That's going to be in March. Is that when it is?
Yeah, coming across the bridge with me.
Okay. All right, we'll have to get down there on a bus. God bless you. All right.
Okay.
All right.